men of Reddit who proposed and she said no. What happened afterwards with your life? She said yes on the second proposal and now we're divorced. Edit. Reddit is such a weird place. All the carefully thought out posts and comments get zero recognition, and then this random off-the-cuff remark is my most liked comment. Glad you all got a kick out of it. For those wondering, I've been single for a year. I spent last night with a smart, beautiful woman and had a blast. Life is good. After reading all these stories, I laughed when I read this. Not at your misfortune, but at how succinct it was. We were living together. I asked. She said, no, I love you but I need to think about it. I don't think I'm ready yet. Can you give me some time and ask later? Quote. A few months go by. I ask again. Same response. A few more months. Same deal. A couple more weeks and then she says, hey, what do you think of us getting married? Quote. I replied, that's an excellent idea. Why didn't I think of that? Our 39th anniversary is next month. I was expecting the story to get worse and worse, but it ended up better. Congrats. She had said she wasn't really a fan of marriage, so I thought proposing non-marriage might be well received, and I wanted us to be together for the rest of our lives. So I asked her not to marry me. She said no. We have been married for 10 years. Pulled the old reverse card on her. Dated a woman for over 2 years and popped the question. First time she said, I don't know. A couple months later I asked her again. She said, maybe. I was pretty bent out of shape. But then I found out she was sleeping with several of my friends, so I dodged a bullet there. Really? Sounds like you dodged a dang shootout, mate. Those weren't your friends? Skeptical smiley face. Sounds like she didn't dodge a gang shootout though. Edit. Hey, my first Reddit award. Cool, man. Sorry to opt though, lol. We lived together for another 6 years until she changed her mind and told me that I should ask again. We were engaged for over a year and got married in 1991. We are still married, have 3 children, and are both still very much in love. What, the initial no? Didn't have enough XP. It was really bad for a while. Then it was really bad. Then it became really bad. Then it became bad. Then it was just blah. Then it was neutral. Then things started to get better. They continued to get better by me learning to be happy and me doing me things. I eventually found someone else. And things have been getting better for 20 years now. Ah, love, life and time. Great synopsis. I asked her right out of high school, but she wasn't ready. We stayed together, went to college at the same school, spent the first year in separate dorms, then moved in together, got married a few years later. Our 20th is coming up. What a wholesome story, you, literal faces. She said yes as I had a special occasion planned, one of those observation wheels, and I proposed at the very top, and we were in our way to a family event and I had a ring made and everything. Then a few days later she said no. Everything fell apart. I was distraught. We continued dating for a while, but it was long distance, other side of the world. When I visited it would be super awkward. Eventually dad kicked me out. Was flying standby and was stuck in an airport for 4 days. Took me years to recover. Now I am happily married and I'm glad it never worked out. I was not in a good place when I met her, and her family were super controlling. It would never have worked. The woman I married is super cool and is my best friend. Turned out better than expected. She had cancer. I said we should get married because I had full medical coverage from my work. She said no, and over time we grew apart. Haven't talked to her in 15 years. Don't know if she died. I know a couple who did just that. He proposed in order to give her citizenship and health insurance so she could remain here and get cancer treatment she desperately needed. They stayed married for about 15 years and he even adopted her son. But they never lived together or were romantically involved. Years later, they divorced when he met the woman of his dreams and wanted to get married. They are all very close friends, with no drama. She lived and is a university professor now. He is in another state with a woman of his dreams. That's actually beautiful. My mother turned my father down, but didn't outright break up with Hi Monsieur. She just wasn't sure about the marriage idea. She valued her independence and was nervous about commitment. No hard feelings, though. He called up the next day when she'd had more time to think about it, and she said yes after all. They celebrated 32 years of marriage last month. Just the fact that they could say those things to each other and still be respectful and friendly. Loving. That's the key there. I was the person who said no. We had only known each other for 3 months and he was smitten. I was more cautious. I said no. I like you but it's way too soon. He asked when would be enough time. I said maybe a year. He proposed again at midnight, 1 year after we first met. I said yes and we have been together 8 years now. Edit. I know a year was still not a long time, but we had a long engagement and didn't get married for another 2.5 years. I was expecting this to go down in flames but ended up making me smile. Thanks a lot. This is the story of my parents. My dad asked my mom to marry him several times. She said no. Several times. One day my dad asked my mom to marry him. Yet again. She said yes. He freaked out and left her apartment and dumped her. 3 weeks later he hated his life without her and begged her to take him back and marry Hi Monsieur. They were married 9 months later for 16 years until my mom passed from cancer. They loved each other so much and had such a deep appreciation for each other. That was 25 years ago. My dad has not remarried. No one will ever come close to my mama. Dad, marry me? Mom, okay. Dad, what? I am out. Wild ride but I'm glad it worked out for them. Heart. If they set their standards so low that they're willing to date me, then that's a deal breaker is what I'm thinking. Edit. Thanks for all the likes broskis. I told my friends this joke and they didn't laugh, so I sure hope you guys did. Edit 2. Thanks for the gold stranger. You're AG. Dad, marry me. Mom, no. Dad, marry me. Mom, no. Dad, marry me. Mom, yes. Dad, well now I am not doing it. My dad proposed to a woman who said no. My dad was a violent alcoholic and she said she couldn't be with him unless he got clean. Took him a little while, but he did it. He wound up meeting my mom through a matchmaker and they've been married 25 years. If that woman never said no to him, he never would have gotten clean. It was the lowest point in his life, but it all brought him to my mom, who makes him happier than ever. My dad talks to her sometimes. She got married to someone else and they had a son who died from a medical condition. Well, that story went well until the last 6 words. I was a young Marine. I was only home during the weekends. Was dating this girl for about a year from my hometown. When I asked, she said yes. Her dad, former Navy, kept saying we should wait. We put it off for a bit longer. Fast forward another year. She dumped me. Father informs me she has been sleeping with a lot of guys. Like more than 50 over the 2 years we dated. And was very happy I didn't marry her. And apologizes to me for her behavior. She then totally ghosting everyone including her family for about 6 months. Find out she moved 7 hours away and was living under a house. Not a basement, under a house with her new BF. She calls her mom to come get her. Mother and father ask me to go get her and bring her home. Good times. Good times. Well, did you? Edit. Nothing like some suspense to get my most upvotes ever. Aha. Thank you. Yep, I was not a smart man. Peak boot. My mom actually said no to my dad's proposal when they were younger. Not because they weren't in love, but because she wasn't sure if it was something she actually wanted to do, rather than something that society expected of her or whatever. They still stayed together and had kids. Hence why you're reading this now. And then when my dad was terminally ill a few years ago, my mom plucked up the courage and asked, "Hi, monsieur," just to get her back after all those years. He said no before taking her up on the offer a few days later. He died a happy man. Not sure if this count, but I proposed. She said yes, but 1 month before the wedding she took it back. This is what happened immediately with my life. I personally lost about $3,000 worth of deposits. My parents and her parents lost about $4,000 each on deposits. Me and my parents are working class, so it took years for us to financially recover from this. I spent $2,200 on a ring I didn't want. My biggest regret, and will say this anyone who listens, the engagement ring chain I bought it from wouldn't take it back. I took it to pawn shops and they'd only offer a few hundred. This engagement ring store bank on customers who wants the whole ring, stone, band, setting. If you're going to buy a ring just buy the stone the gold band setting. You can get a better deal from a local jewelry store. Apparently my gem I bought was shit. Most of the cost of the ring was BS. Most of my family was from out of state and a lot of people were pissed because they cancelled their flight. I had to go to the earth, so I didn't leave my room. I couldn't take any calls because everyone was pissed and I didn't want to hear it. I was depressed and just stayed in bed. One day my roommate grabbed me and took me to the ER where the doctor treated me for severe dehydration and an infection. What happened when I got over it? I became stronger for it. I didn't propose to anyone until a decade later. Honestly, there wasn't anyone that I didn't love deeply enough to be in a committed relationship. But when I proposed, I was in my 30s. Our relationship was more mature than my first time I proposed. We're now married for 13 years. She's my best friend. When I have good news, she's the first person I want to tell it to. When I have bad news, she's the first person I want to tell it to. I financially recovered as well. I learned my lesson about the engagement ring. Only paid $300 for it. She loved it and treasures it. After our 10-year milestone, we were doing so well. I told her to pick a wedding ring of any cost. She refused. She still won't wears that cheap $300 ring and loves it. The huge markup on jewelry isn't unique to engagement rings. Although it is probably highest with the monsieur, I've heard it's normal for a 70 to 80% profit margin on jewelry in shops. Because of that, some places, especially if not part of a chain, will accept a lower offer for four-figure prices. So try your luck, just not in front of the girlfriend if she's picking her own. Don't expect 70% off, but depending on the margin of the specific item and how hard it is to find a buyer, you could save a sizable amount. Of course, you could save more money having one custom made. A friend of mine did this and he's adamant he saved thousands for one of the same value from a shop. I can't say for sure if he's right, but when you think of the overhead saved, there's certainly logic to it. Thank you so much for watching and have a good day.